Story number 1. Whispers of Franz Joseph, Russia. 1930s. I still wake up in the dead of night. The memory of that fateful winter in 1935 haunting me like the relentless Arctic winds that once howled around Franz Joseph Island. My name is Nikolai Petrov, and the events that unfolded during our expedition have left an indelible mark on my soul. A constant reminder of the thin line between human ambition and the unforgiving forces of nature. It was the early months of 1935 when the Soviet Academy of Sciences approved our mission to explore the uncharted territories of Franz Joseph Island, a remote archipelago in the northern Arctic. The goal was to study the glacial formations and document any signs of ancient civilizations that might have once thrived in this desolate landscape. Our team comprised 5 seasoned explorers. Myself, Sergei Ivanov, the lead geologist, Anna Volkova, our skilled navigator, Dmitry Sokolov, the expedition's physician, Ivan Kuznetsov, the fearless mountaineer, and Elena Smirnova, our diligent chronicler. We arrived on the island in late January, greeted by a landscape of towering icebergs and endless snowdrifts. The air was crisp, the silence profound, broken only by the distant creaking of ice shifting in the frigid waters. Our base camp was established near the heart of the island, a modest structure of wooden frames reinforced against the biting cold. The first few weeks were a blend of rigorous scientific work and the awe-inspiring beauty of our surroundings. Days were spent trekking across the frozen terrain, collecting samples, and mapping the intricate network of glaciers that dominated the landscape. Nights were cold and dark, our only companions the flickering lanterns and the occasional sound of the wind whispering through the trees. On the 9th day of our expedition, a severe snowstorm descended upon us without warning. The sky darkened, and the winds intensified, transforming into a blinding tempest that obscured our vision and muffled our movements. We huddled together in the main tent, rationing our supplies and attempting to stay warm. As the storm raged on, Sergei suggested we check on one of the outlying research stations to ensure everything was secure. Equipped with heavy coats and lanterns, a small group of 3 Sergei, Anna, and myself braved the storm to make the necessary inspections. The journey was treacherous, the snowdrifts piling high and the wind howling like the cries of the lost. After what felt like hours, we reached the remote station, only to find it eerily silent. The equipment was untouched, and there was no sign of our colleagues. Suddenly, Sergei froze, his eyes fixed on the distant horizon where a faint glow began to shimmer amidst the swirling snow. "Do you see that?" he whispered, pointing towards a narrow crevice in the glacier. Intrigued and apprehensive, we approached the site, the temperature dropping sharply as we neared the entrance of an ice cave that had never been documented before. Inside, the cave was a labyrinth of glittering ice formations and shadowed passages. The air was thick with an unnatural stillness, the only sound our own footsteps crunching against the frozen ground. As we ventured deeper, the flickering light of our lanterns cast long, wavering shadows that seemed to dance with a life of their own. In the heart of the cave, we stumbled upon a series of peculiar markings etched into the ice walls, symbols that resembled ancient runes, their meanings lost to time. Sergei, ever the scholar, attempted to decipher them, but his frustration was palpable. It was then that we heard it, a faint, melodic humming that echoed through the cavern, growing louder with each passing moment. The sound was both beautiful and haunting, sending shivers down our spines. As we followed the melody, the cave seemed to shift around us, the walls narrowing and expanding in an impossible dance. The humming intensified, now accompanied by whispering voices that swirled around us like the wind outside. Panic began to set in as we realized we were not alone. Suddenly, a blinding light enveloped us, and the temperature plummeted even further. Out of the shadows emerged figures, ghostly apparitions of those who had perished in the storm years ago, their eyes hollow and expressions filled with eternal sorrow. The sight was ghastly, the frozen remnants of our past colleagues standing before us in silent agony. "Elena, Dmitry, Ivan," Sergei gasped. recognizing the spirits of our missing team members. The air was thick with their mournful presence, their silent pleas for release echoing through the cavern. "We must leave," Anna urged, her voice trembling as the apparitions began to advance towards us, their movements slow and deliberate. "This place holds dark secrets." But the spirits did not attack. Instead, they reached out with ethereal hands, guiding us towards the heart of the cave where an ancient altar stood. The symbols we had seen earlier were now illuminated by an otherworldly glow, their meanings clear in the flickering light. The altar seemed to pulse with energy, the air vibrating with a force that resonated deep within our beings. Sergei stepped forward, his voice barely above a whisper. "What is this place?" Collective voice, both chilling and sorrowful, filled the cavern. "We are bound by the storm's wrath, trapped between life and death. Only by acknowledging our suffering can we find peace." Understanding dawned on me. The storm had not only claimed our lives, but had also trapped our spirits in this frozen limbo. We had to perform a ritual of acknowledgement and remembrance to release them from their eternal torment. With trembling hands, we gathered around the altar, placing the samples and notes we had collected as offerings. Sergei began to recite the ancient runes, his voice steady despite the fear that gripped us. The apparitions watched intently, their sorrowful eyes reflecting the flickering light. As Sergei's voice grew louder, the symbols on the altar began to glow brighter, the air thick with the presence of the departed. The humming and whispering intensified, the spirits surrounding us in a circle of ethereal light. Then, with a final, resonant chant, the energy surged through the cave, enveloping us in a brilliant flash of light. When the light faded, the spirits had vanished, their presence replaced by a profound sense of peace. The temperature began to rise, the oppressive cold lifting as the storm outside subsided. Exhausted but relieved, we made our way back to the surface, the dawn breaking through the remnants of the storm with a promise of new beginnings. The aftermath of that night left our team forever changed. The scientific community was baffled by the unexplained phenomena we had encountered. But we knew the truth. Franz Josef Island held more than just geological mysteries. It was a place where the boundaries between the living and the dead were thin, and where the spirits of the past sought acknowledgement and release. Years have passed since that harrowing expedition, but the memory of Franz Josef remains vivid in my mind. I often find myself gazing out at the Arctic horizon, the frozen landscape a stark reminder of the events that unfolded beneath its icy veil. The legacy of our expedition serves as a cautionary tale, a testament to the enduring power of nature's wrath and the spirits that linger in the shadows of our forgotten histories. And so, I warn others, respect the forces that govern these frozen realms. Honor the memories of those who have been lost, and understand that some mysteries are best approached with reverence and humility. For in the heart of Franz Josef, amidst the silent ice and lingering whispers, lies a darkness that can consume even the bravest of spirits, but also a light that can guide us towards redemption and peace. Story number 2. Whispers in the Blizzard, USA. 1952. I still wake up in the dead of night. The memory of that harrowing winter in 1952 etched into my mind like the relentless frost that once gripped the desolate Alaskan landscape. My name is Jack Morrison, and the events that unfolded during that fateful snowstorm have left an indelible mark on my soul. A constant reminder of the thin line between survival and succumbing to the darkness that lurks within. It was early December when our expedition set out to establish a temporary research station on the remote slopes of Mount Denali. Our team consisted of 5, myself, Dr. Eleanor Whitaker, a brilliant but stern geologist, Tom Harris, the ever-reliable cook and handyman, Sarah Lang, a young and enthusiastic meteorologist, and the twins, Mike and Sam Thompson, our expert climbers. The journey had been arduous, battling fierce winds and treacherous paths, but the promise of groundbreaking discoveries kept our spirits high. By mid-December, we had settled into the small, makeshift cabin nestled in a secluded valley, shielded from the biting winds by towering pines and sheer rock faces. The cabin was rudimentary, equipped with only the essentials: sleeping bags, a wood-burning stove, and a handful of supplies that Tom had painstakingly gathered. Despite the isolation, there was a sense of camaraderie among us, a shared purpose that bound us together against the harshness of our environment. However, as the days grew shorter and the nights colder, an unsettling feeling began to permeate the cabin. It started subtly, strange noises echoing through the walls, whispers that seemed to dance on the edge of perception. First, we dismissed them as the wind playing tricks on our weary minds. But as the snow continued to fall, burying the world outside in a blanket of white, the unease deepened. One particularly brutal night, a blizzard of unprecedented ferocity descended upon us. The wind howled like a chorus of lost souls, and the snow fell in thick, impenetrable sheets, cutting off any hope of escape. We huddled together in the cabin, the fire flickering weakly as our breaths created icy clouds in the frigid air. The power of the storm was overwhelming, and we knew that we were at the mercy of nature's wrath. As the hours dragged on, the whispers grew louder, more insistent. They seemed to emanate from the very walls of the cabin, voices filled with sorrow and despair. Dr. Whitaker, ever the skeptic, attempted to rationalize the sounds, attributing them to the psychological strain of our isolation. But even she couldn't deny the creeping dread that settled over us like a shroud. By the third day, food supplies had dwindled alarmingly, and the cabin felt increasingly claustrophobic. The storm showed no signs of abating, and our ability to ration our meager provisions was rapidly diminishing. It was during one of these restless nights that the true horror began to reveal itself. I was awakened by the sound of muffled sobbing, a pitiful sound that seemed to pierce through the storm's fury. Groggy and disoriented, I stumbled out of my sleeping bag and made my way to the small window, peering into the darkness outside. The snow had piled high, obscuring any view, but there, standing at the edge of the cabin's perimeter, was a figure, a woman cloaked in tattered garments, her eyes hollow and devoid of life. "Who's there?" I called out, my voice barely audible over the howling wind. The figure remained silent, her presence unnerving as she slowly began to fade into the swirling snow. I turned to wake the others, but found Dr. Whitaker already awake, her face pale and drawn. "We need to leave," she whispered urgently. "The storm won't let us out, and our supplies are gone." Panic set in as the reality of our situation dawned on us. With no way to escape and no sustenance left, the cabin felt like a tomb, sealing us off from the world outside. The whispers continued, growing more frantic, as if the very walls were crying out for help. Days blurred into nights as the storm raged on, each passing hour a battle against the encroaching despair. Then, on the fifth day, as the blizzard finally began to relent, we ventured outside to assess the damage and scavenge what little we could find. What we discovered was beyond our worst nightmares. The once pristine cabin was now a scene of macabre horror. Bodies lay frozen in grotesque poses, their features twisted in eternal agony. It was as though death had claimed them in mid-struggle, their souls trapped in a state of perpetual torment. The air was thick with the scent of decay, and the ground was littered with remnants of lives abruptly ended by the merciless storm. Dr. Whitaker, Tom, Sarah, Mike, and Sam had not made it. The brutality of the cold had claimed them, but there was something more sinister at play. The whispers had transformed into anguished cries, echoing through the desolate landscape like the cries of vengeful spirits. As I stood there, surrounded by the frozen corpses of my friends, I felt an overwhelming sense of loss and guilt, compounded by the eerie presence that seemed to linger in the air. Determined to survive and uncover the truth behind the horrors that had unfolded, I began piecing together the fragments of our last days. It became clear that the storm was no ordinary blizzard. It was a malevolent force, a manifestation of the mountain's wrath. intent on claiming our souls as its own. The whispers and cries were the echoes of those who had perished before us, their spirits unable to find peace in the unforgiving wilderness. As the months passed, I remained at the cabin, my only companions the frozen remnants of my friends and the spectral voices that haunted me. I scoured old journals and maps, searching for any clue that could lead to our salvation. It was during one of these desperate searches that I stumbled upon a weathered diary, its pages filled with the accounts of previous expeditions lost to the mountain's fury. The final entry was a chilling testament to the mountain's true nature. "The storm is alive," it read. "It feeds on our fear and despair, trapping our souls within its icy grip. To survive, we must confront the darkness within ourselves and find a way to appease the spirits that wander these frozen halls." Armed with this newfound knowledge, I knew that survival depended on more than just physical endurance. It required a journey into the depths of my own psyche, a battle against the fear and despair that threatened to consume me. Each night, I faced the spectral apparitions of my fallen friends, their eyes pleading for release, their voices a haunting chorus that echoed through the cabin. One fateful night, as the first signs of spring began to thaw the frozen landscape, I felt a shift in the air. The whispers had quieted, replaced by a serene stillness that spoke of impending peace. Summoning every ounce of strength, I ventured into the heart of the cabin, where the spirits of my friends awaited, their forms shimmering in the ethereal light. "We need to let go," I whispered, my voice trembling with emotion. "You deserve peace." The spirits gazed at me, their sorrowful eyes meeting mine with a silent understanding. As I reached out, the cabin seemed to breathe with a newfound warmth, the oppressive cold giving way to a gentle embrace. One by one, the spirits faded, their tormented souls finally finding the release they had long sought. As the last spirit dissipated, the cabin transformed before my eyes. The horror that had plagued us was lifted, replaced by a sense of tranquility and closure. The storm had passed, its malevolent force no longer holding sway over our fates. I knew that the mountain had tested us, pushing us to the brink of our humanity, but we had emerged stronger, our bonds unbroken even in the face of unspeakable tragedy. Years have passed since that harrowing winter, but the memory of the storm and the loss of my friends remain vivid, a haunting reminder of the resilience of the human spirit and the enduring power of friendship. I often find myself gazing up at the towering peaks of Mount Denali, the snow-capped summits a stark contrast to the dark memories that linger in my heart. The legacy of that winter night serves as a cautionary tale, a testament to the unforgiving nature of the wild and the depths of despair that can be overcome through courage and compassion. The whispers of the past echo in my mind, a gentle reminder that even in the darkest of times, there is hope, and the light of friendship can guide us through the bleakest of storms. And so, I warn others, respect the forces of nature, honor the memories of those who have been lost, and understand that some mountains hold secrets too profound to uncover without facing the darkness within ourselves. For in the heart of Alaska, amidst the silent snow and lingering shadows, lies a darkness that can consume even the bravest of spirits, but also a light that can guide us towards redemption and peace. Story number 3. Frozen Echoes, A Descent into Darkness, USA. 1996. I still wake up in the dead of night, the memory of that fateful May Day in 1996 clawing at my consciousness like the relentless winds that once swept across the unforgiving slopes of Mount Everest. My name is Ethan Carter, and the haunting events that unfolded during our expedition remain etched in my soul, a constant reminder of the thin line between ambition and oblivion. It was the peak of spring, a time when the snow begins to soften under the warmth of the sun, and the air is filled with the promise of new beginnings. Our team, a diverse group of seasoned climbers and passionate adventurers, had gathered with one purpose: to conquer Everest, the world's tallest and most treacherous mountain. The allure of standing atop the world, of witnessing the sunrise from such heights, was a dream we all shared. As we ascended through the Khumbu icefall, the excitement was palpable. The towering seracs and deep crevasses were both a testament to nature's grandeur and a harbinger of the dangers that lay ahead. We moved with purpose, each step bringing us closer to our goal, yet unaware of the darkness that was slowly descending upon us. By mid-May, we had reached the infamous Hillary Step, a nearly vertical rock face that had claimed many lives. The climb was arduous, our breaths visible in the thin air, hearts pounding with each precarious move. Spirits were high, camaraderie unbreakable, until the signs began to emerge, subtle at first, then unmistakably sinister. It started with the weather forecast. An unexpected storm was brewing, one that promised to unleash a fury of snow and wind unlike anything we'd prepared for. The local Sherpas urged us to turn back, their faces etched with concern. But pride and determination kept us moving forward, dismissing their warnings as mere superstition. As we neared the summit, the sky darkened, the clouds swirling ominously above us. The temperature plummeted, and the once gentle breeze transformed into a howling tempest. Visibility dropped to near zero, the world around us engulfed in a blinding whiteout. Panic began to set in, but the storm raged on, relentless and unyielding. We lost all sense of direction, disoriented by the swirling snow and the deafening roar of the wind. The mountain, once a majestic beacon, now seemed like a living, breathing entity, intent on claiming us as its own. One by one, exhaustion overcame us, our bodies succumbing to the cold and the sheer impossibility of our situation. By nightfall, only a handful of us remained, huddled together for warmth in a small crevice that offered little protection from the storm's wrath. The howling winds seemed to whisper our fears, carrying with them the echoes of those who had perished before us. In the darkness, shadows danced menacingly, and the lines between reality and nightmare blurred. A sudden, bone-chilling silence fell over the mountain, broken only by the distant crackling of ice. Then, without warning, a piercing scream echoed through the tempest, freezing us in our tracks. It was a sound of pure agony, a soul in torment that reverberated through the very core of the mountain. Fear gripped us, but we had no choice but to press on, driven by the instinct to survive. In the dim light of our emergency lamps, we stumbled upon the frozen remains of a climber, his body contorted in a grotesque pose, as if he had been abruptly halted in his desperate bid for life. The sight was horrifying, a stark reminder of the mountain's merciless nature. But the horror didn't end there. Each subsequent discovery became more macabre. Bodies frozen in unnatural positions, their faces twisted in eternal screams, eyes staring blankly into the abyss. It was then that we realized we were not alone. Presence loomed over us, a malevolent force that thrived in the heart of Everest's darkness. The mountain seemed to come alive, its icy breath searing our flesh, its whispers seeping into our minds, driving us to the brink of madness. The line between the living and the dead had been obliterated, and we were caught in the midst of a spectral nightmare. Desperation fueled our final attempt to escape. We navigated through the blinding snow, the storm now an all-consuming vortex that threatened to swallow us whole. Each step was a struggle, our legs numb, our bodies weakened by the relentless cold. The mountain's grip tightened, the shadows closing in around us, their whispers growing louder, more insistent. In a last, futile effort, we reached a precarious ledge overlooking a sheer drop, the storm swirling violently below. The sight was both terrifying and awe-inspiring. The sheer magnitude of Everest's power laid bare before us. The mountain demanded a sacrifice, and we were its unwilling offering. As the storm reached its zenith, a blinding flash of light enveloped us, and the world around us dissolved into pure white. When I awoke, I was lying alone on the cold, hard ground, the storm having passed as abruptly as it had arrived. The silence was deafening, the memories of the night before still vivid in my mind. I looked around, But there was no sign of my comrades, only the desolate beauty of Everest in the aftermath of the storm. The bodies were gone, replaced by an eerie stillness that spoke of a peace long denied. The rescue team arrived the next day, their faces a mixture of awe and horror as they took in the scene. They found me, alive but forever changed, my mind haunted by the spectral apparitions and the unspeakable horrors that had unfolded on the mountain. The official report deemed it a tragic accident caused by a sudden snowstorm, but I knew the truth. Everest was more than just a mountain. It was a living entity, a guardian of its own secrets, and those who dared to challenge its might were doomed to be forgotten in its icy embrace. The experience left an indelible mark on me, a constant reminder of the fragility of life and the enduring power of nature's wrath. The whispers of the fallen echoed in my dreams, a chilling testament to the souls that remained trapped in the frozen expanse of Everest. The mountain had claimed us, but its echoes would forever linger, a haunting reminder of the thin line between ambition and oblivion. Years have passed since that harrowing climb, but the memory of Everest's dark embrace remains vivid in my mind. I often find myself gazing up at the mountain from afar, the snow-covered peaks a stark contrast to the vibrant life it once held. The legacy of that winter night serves as a cautionary tale, a reminder that some dreams are best left unpursued, and some mountains hold secrets too profound to uncover. And so, I warn others, respect the forces of nature, honor the memories of those who have been lost, and understand that some ambitions come at a price too high to bear. For in the heart of Everest, amidst the silent snow and lingering shadows, lies a darkness that can consume even the bravest of spirits, leaving behind only echoes of fear and the eternal struggle for peace.